Hey everybody, it's Prince's Friend. This week we're going over the hits and the B-sides, which was Prince's 1993 release. Now in 1993, Prince really wanted to release Gold Nigga, which was the debut album from the new power generation. It had Tony M and he was heading it up and it was pretty good. I've actually listened to it since, and it was pretty good. And I do plan on doing a review of that in the near future. But when he wanted to release it, Warner Brothers said no. They refused. What he did get them to do was to agree to release a greatest hits collection, which is something that he had wanted to do 2 years earlier. Instead, he ended up releasing Diamonds and Pearls, but he actually wanted to do it back in 1991. 1993 is when that actually happened. Now, it was released on 3 different discs. There was the Hits 1, the Hits 2, and then there was the B-sides. Because Prince wasn't one to skimp on music, obviously. The first 2 discs is basically what I'll be covering today, and they cover quite a bit. First off, contained on these 2 discs is basically the majority of the singles previously released. Notable exceptions that I noticed aren't there are I Wish You Heaven, Glam Slam, Bat Dance. So those are some obvious ones that I'm like, those would have been really good on here. There's also a couple of tracks on here that weren't singles, but I think they help kind of boost the numbers. They were some of the more popular tracks and whatnot. So the Hits 1 and Hits 2 were actually released separately. You could buy them individually as well, but if you wanted the B-sides, you had to buy the whole set of all 3 discs. So it was kind of a tricky thing there, because most people wanted that B-side, so that's like instant money right there. This was kind of the point in my music listening career where I kind of became disillusioned with greatest hits albums. A lot of my exposure to some of the bands that my mom used to listen to and stuff when I was a kid used to be through greatest hits album. I used to listen to the Beatles greatest hits, Queen greatest hits, and I used to listen to those and I'd be like, whoa, these are amazing albums. Of course, they're the best tracks from all of the different albums. But honestly, when I got this, I was like, really? Because they took the tracks, but they were all the singles cuts. So they were all with, they would stop abruptly, or if they sounded different, they cut out choruses and they cut out sections of the songs. And they just sounded really choppy and just not really all that enjoyable compared to the album versions that I had, consumed with vigor for like previous years. I think the biggest culprits for me were probably Adore, where a lot of the coolness of it is kind of zapped from it, in my opinion. And I Would Die For You, where it ends with that instead of actually continuing the frickin' song. Both of those really irked me, but those aren't the only 2 on there that just, I don't know, single cuts just don't do it for me. Let's Go Crazy is another one. But honestly, the star of the hits, in my opinion, were the previously unreleased songs. On the Hits 1 and 2, there was 3 previously unreleased songs and in 1 live rendition of a song that everybody knew. Because again, Prince never skimped on music, and he knows what his friends want. We friends want new music. So the 4 tracks that are on the Hits 1 and Hits 2 are Nothing Compares to You, the live version, and Pink Cashmere. Those were both on Hits 1, and Peach and Pope were both on Hits 2. So before this, none of those 4 tracks had ever really been heard before, except for the Nothing Compares to You if you were at the show where it was recorded from. The last brand new track was Power of Fantastic, but that's on the B-sides, and we're going to cover that in the next video. But I want to go over these 4 real quick.
Nothing compares to you. Oh, baby. It's been so lonely without
So obviously, Nothing Compares to You has had 2 previous releases, and one was by The Family, which I actually did a review for The Family, and you can check that out. Also, Sinead O'Connor did one that was actually where the song got its huge popularity from. I think both of which were pretty good versions of the song, but this live version here with Rosie Gaines kind of singing duet with Prince is pretty much my go-to version of the song. It was recorded on January 27th, 1992, and it was at Paisley Park with the new power generation, and it was at a post-Super Bowl party hosted by Prince. So that's pretty cool. What this version does for me is it takes what was kind of like a sad, kind of depressing song, and it was just like one person who's just kind of screaming and going, "I can't believe they left me." It kind of takes it and it turns it into a conversation between two former lovers. And when they're talking to each other, they can kind of tell that they need to reconnect. And I think that's really why I really dig this version of Nothing Compares to You.
I'm making you a cup of pink cashmere. You got to know how I feel about you. I always want you near. I'm making you a cup of pink cashmere. I'm counting every minute of every hour.
So I think Pink Cashmere is actually my favorite of the 4 tracks. Because it's just such a good mix of pop and soft rock. The song is about the loss of a lover and kind of waiting for her to come back, and the whole time he's waiting, he's knitting her a coat until she returns. I really love when he sings it in his falsetto and he goes, "Ooh, here I go again, falling in love all over." That's the fast version. Because it's basically kind of that thing where like every time he thinks about her, he falls in love again with her. And I think that that's a really great. I mean, and I have that with my wife. Like, I love her so much, and anytime I think of her, I'm like, "Aww." Claire Fisher adds in some great string arrangements to the song, and at the end of it, I think he really lets loose with that guitar solo, and it matches everything, and it's kind of a back and forth between his guitar and the string arrangements. It's such a good song, and it kind of builds to like an epic ending. I really dig Pink Cashmere.
Babes can't hide her cheeks. She's a bitch.
So Peach is kind of a classic mix of rock and roll and blues. In Peach, he's talking about a woman he sees where she's like the most attractive thing he's ever seen. And I don't know if you guys know what a peach is. I don't know if Prince was trying to coin a new term and saying a peach was just a very pretty woman. But a peach is usually female anatomy, and I think that he's saying that the hot pants that this woman was wearing was so tight that he could see her peach. But of course, he was too shy to do anything about it, as we learn in the final verse to the song. I think the guitar solos really drive this song, and there are 3 of them, and I think they really put Prince's guitar skills to the test. He does an amazing job with them. Unlike a lot of songs that people like, but they kind of fall by the wayside, Peach became a favorite of Prince's, and he performed it at many concerts, even all the way up in his later years. So, good song.
You can be the president. I'd rather be the Pope. Yeah, you can be the side effect. I'd rather be the dope. I'll call you Billy Sally and you figure you would kill.
So Pope starts with a sample from Bernie Mac from his debut on Def Comedy Jam, and if you know the story, he was so like nervous about going out and being on this national stage because Def Comedy Jam was really huge at the time, but he got over his fear by going out there and saying, "You don't understand. I ain't scared of y'all, mother," you know, and it became actually one of his signature lines, and it really kind of put him on the map. And I think that it was used here as a sample by Prince to say the same thing. Like, I'm not scared of y'all. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And I think that that's pretty awesome. The song itself is about how people are always saying how they want to be the president, but Prince is pointing out that there's somebody above the president, there's the Pope, and he's got way more power, and he's shaped the world in a million different ways more than any president has. So, and of course, if you don't like Prince rapping, which apparently lots of people in the comments really just don't like Prince when he raps, I always really kind of liked it, but you won't like it if you don't like Prince rapping. The female voice on the track is Maite, if you didn't know that, and she sings co-lead, and she's really good, so, you know, there you go. So then the question becomes, if I could only afford one of these discs, which one would I get? Would I get the Hits 1, or would I get the Hits 2? I mean, looking at the list, if you look at the Hits 1, it has kind of all of the much bigger songs that you probably want to have. It's got Diamonds and Pearls, it's got When Doves Cry, it's got Soft and Wet, it's got I Feel For You, 1999, Let's Go Crazy, it's got the Nothing Compares to You and the Pink Cashmere, it's got Adore if you want the comedy, it's got Alphabet Street, it's got a bunch of songs that are just amazing, and they kind of come from all the different, different albums and stuff. And it's even got a couple other ones like Pop Life and I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man, which were singles that weren't huge, that you might not have heard before. So I think that Hits 1 is actually really good. Now, of course, comparing Hits 1 to Hits 2, again, the Hits 2 kind of bounces around as well, but it's got Purple Rain, it's got Get Off, it's got Sexy MF, it's got Controversy and Dirty Mind, Little Red Corvette, I Would Die For You, Raspberry Beret, If I Was Your Girlfriend, Kiss, it's got You Got the Look, I Don't Even Know. It's got so many good songs, and I think that if I was to personally compare the two, I would probably have to get the Hits 2, even though Pink Cashmere is on the Hits 1. And I think this is why. The Hits 2 has a wider array of songs that I think would all hit my particular vein of Prince. So it's got, Delirious, Do Me Baby, Little Red Corvette, some more of his later stuff on it, and I think that that's probably the one that I would go with if I was to suggest that you only get one. Of course, I would say you have to get all three. But I can see why people would want the Hits 1, and you can tell that this package was put together in such a way that getting one makes you want to get the other, and so you should just get them all together anyway. And it's just one of those crazy things. The Hits 1 and 2 are both amazing compilations, but what do you guys think about the Hits 1 and the Hits 2? Let me know. Let me know what your favorite singles are on it, or what do you think about the packaging and whatnot. It's just some interesting discussions that can be had about this. While you're at it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Patreon at patreon.com/princessfriend, and may you live to see the dawn.